Oh, today we're going to be making sock puppets. And a sock puppet can be anything you want to make. Anything at all. Boy, girl, monster, pig, dragon, whatever you want. And here's our good friend Ricki to tell you all about it.
Hi kids, and welcome to the very last video for Making Puppets with the Institute. Today we're going to make sock puppets. These are my favorite kind of puppets. My favorite puppets to play with when I was your age. So let's get started, shall we? So let's talk about some supplies. In your kit, you'll find a pre-made sock puppet blank. You guys get to do the fun stuff by decorating them. We took care of the hard part by putting together the sock puppet for you. But included in this lesson, we will show you how to make blank sock puppets in case you want to make more. Remember though, when you're making sock puppets from scratch, you're going to need a hot glue gun. And if you've never used a hot glue gun before, they can be very dangerous and they can burn you. So make sure that you have an adult with you at all times, and make sure to ask before you ever use anything like a hot glue gun. But other than that hot glue gun, you're going to need a sock, of course, as it is a sock puppet. You're going to need some white glue, some felt or any other type fabric to make clothes out of. You want some googly eyes, but you can also use buttons, and you can also make eyes out of scrap felt or anything really. You can even draw them on with markers. I like to use the little pom-poms, little poofy balls, for my noses. So a pom-pom, you'll find some in the kit. Some markers in case you want to do some coloring. You're going to need, just to make the blank sock puppet, some thin cardboard. Something like an old cereal box will work just fine. And then you want to have some scrap or some newspaper, because I'm going to teach you how to make patterns so you can make clothes for your sock puppet. So once we have all our stuff together, while you're thinking about what kind of puppet to make, I'll show you how to make sock puppets from scratch. So here's all our supplies that we're going to need to make just the sock puppet blank. The sock, of course, some scissors, the cardboard, a marker, and some felt. And for when we're decorating, the googly eyes and a little poof ball. So I like to use great big socks because I can get 2 or 3 puppets, sometimes even 4, depending on how big the sock is. Once I cut the end off, I'm going to trim this part here, and this is where my mouth's going to go. Now we're going to make a palette. And if you take your tongue and you touch the top of your mouth and the bottom of your mouth, that little hard shelf you feel, that is your palette. So when I'm making palettes, I usually like to use just some scrap cardboard. And what I need is a little rectangle piece out of this scrap that's 4.5 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to cut along that line there. And get that all trimmed up. So there's the beginning of my palette. I'm going to fold this piece of cardboard in half, and then using my scissors while turning the cardboard, I'm going to make a nice round shape on both ends. And this is the inside of my puppet's mouth. So I'm going to take my palette and put it down on top of my sock, leaving just a little bit of space up top, and I'll mark it. Then I'm going to take my scissors and trim back to where those marks are, and it creates a flap. Pull the flap back, place your palette in there with a little bit of room at top, and here's where we're going to use the hot glue gun. So you don't want to ever use a lot, just a little bit around the edges. Once you have it on the edges, we're going to fold this over and stick the sock to that piece of cardboard. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. There's the beginning of the puppet's mouth. There's the beginning of the puppet's mouth. So we're going to want some color for the inside of our palette. But before we can glue that down, we're going to trim off all these old lumpy pieces of sock. And see, we didn't glue down enough right there, so a little bit more glue. Get those edges in there nice and tight. You want to make sure it's completely glued down to the cardboard, or your puppet's going to have a hole in their mouth and your fingers are going to slip out. I'm going to put some glue around the outsides of that sock. And I'm going to press this little rectangle piece of felt on there. And this felt's the same size as the beginning cardboard. 2.5 inches wide, 4.5 inches long. And we just glue it right on there. Once we have it all glued on, we'll take our scissors, we'll trim around the edge. Being careful. And ta-da! One blank sock puppet. So I've chosen these two little googly eyes. I'll use a little red poof ball. Now, so my sock puppet talks really easy. I like to kind of squish up that cardboard, soften it up a bit so it's not so stiff. I'll put a little glue here and a little glue there. You can use white glue for this if you don't have your hot glue gun. Remember though, when you're using white glue, your puppet has to sit for a while that glue dries. But we're going to use the hot glue just for the sake of time. So there's his face. Now it's time to make some clothes. So making clothes is actually really easy, because all the clothes that we're wearing right now, they were all made using what's known as patterns. So I'm going to draw some simple patterns. See those lines? That's a pair of pants. He's going to need a shirt to go with his pants. There's the shirt. Now I did this right on the fold because when I cut it out, I will have the exact same length and everything on both sides. And there's my shirt. Same thing with the pants. I only drew half of the pants and I put it right on the fold, so when I cut it out, ta-da, there's a nifty pair of pants. Now you know what? He's a fancy puppet. I've decided he's got to be a little fancy, so I'm going to give him a vest. See that little piece right there? That, my friends, believe it or not, once I cut it out, is a vest. So all clothes are made using patterns. If you don't get it right the first time, keep on trying. For those who've ever thought they'd like to have a job making clothes and designing clothes, this is the way you start. Learn how to make some patterns. Simple designs can turn into more cool ones later on. You start with a pattern. You lay your pattern down on top of a piece of fabric. Oops, went over the edge there a bit. So let's trace out our shirt. Remember not to throw away the scraps of felt, because you can use those for other things, as I'm going to show you here in a minute. And once I have my clothing all traced out, my pattern's all done, I'll trim them out with my scissors. When cutting fabric, you're going to want to use a nice sharp pair of scissors. If you're not allowed to use sharp pair of scissors, then have a parent or a grown-up do it for you. So there's our vest, our pants. We're going to need some shoes here, so I'll just cut out some little feet. Now you can either draw these out and make a pattern for the feet, or I'll just do what I do and just cut out a little pair of boot shapes by hand. We'll give him some yellow mittens to go with his yellow boots. That way he's got some hands. And there we go. Our puppet is ready to get dressed. So we're going to use hot glue here. But if you don't have hot glue, again, you can use white glue for this. Remember when you're using white glue that you want to glue it down, set it aside, and give it a chance to dry. Now for things like boots and hands, I like to put them behind the clothes. Here's something cool you can do with shirts. If you take your scissors and put just a tiny little slice down the middle, like so. See how that is? You can take your glue and put a little drop on either side. And you can fold those over. And it gives your shirt a collar. The vest is going to go up front. I'm going to glue that little slice we made down to make a nice little collar. And then I'll glue the shirt right on top of the pants. Now all we got to do is put his little mittens on. You can also put slices in those if you'd like to make them look like little fingers. And there's our outfit, done and ready to put on our puppet. So get your puppet. What you're going to do is flip him upside down, and you want to leave just a little bit of room for the neck. And you don't want to glue the whole outfit down, just the top part of it, and you'll see why in just a second. So I'm going to put a little glue right on the top. And I'll glue that directly onto the sock, leaving a little room so it looks like he has a nice little neck. And there we go. He is dressed. So when we put him on, his little body hangs down. This is a full body puppet. Your hand goes right inside the sock. The top fingers go into the top part of his mouth while your thumb goes into the bottom. And here's our sock puppet. And I think we're going to name him Jerry. I think that's a good name for this guy. Jerry the sock. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I hope you enjoyed making all the puppets. Remember, if everybody makes every puppet in their kit, that will be a lot of puppets. Remember, if you want to show off your puppets, you can always send us pictures to this email right here. And if you want to learn more about the Puppetry Institute, feel free to visit us. I hope you enjoyed making puppets with the Institute, and I look forward to working with you all again in person very soon. Have a great day.